been 6 months since cash bail was officially eliminated in the state of Illinois after the state Supreme Court allowed the Pretrial Fairness Act to take effect.
Since then, State House Republicans have been meeting with law enforcement and crafting a bill they think will make the state safer. Illinois Capitol Bureau Chief Max Cotton breaks down the legislation.
After years of court battles, Illinois' landmark and controversial criminal justice reform legislation fully went into effect last September. The SAFETY Act does several things, including the elimination of cash bail, which is part of the law's Pretrial Fairness Act. A group of Illinois House Republicans say the new law isn't working.
It doesn't have to be this way. Illinoisans deserve to know that when a perpetrator commits a crime, they are going to be held accountable. And most certainly, they won't be back on the streets just a few hours later.
In meetings with law enforcement officers, retired judges, state's attorneys, and other stakeholders, Windhorst says members of the working group have filed 15 bills they believe will improve public safety.
The legislative package focuses on supporting and protecting crime victims, giving judges wider discretion to detain people charged with felonies, and recruiting and retaining law enforcement officers while ensuring they are able to do their jobs.
Some of the proposals include allowing judges to hold anyone charged with a felony before trial, while lowering the burden of proof needed to detain someone. Another would require any defendant be held if they're charged with another crime while on pretrial release. Yet another would give police officers a $500 income tax credit to help with recruitment and retention.
And we don't want to be the party of no anymore. What we want to try to do is offer ideas that what we think that can enhance the SAFETY Act to make it better and more palatable to law enforcement.
Cabello says Republicans know the SAFETY Act is here to stay, but they want to make it better. In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.